Hello students, I want to welcome you to economics class. We are going to have fantastic time together discussing balance of payment part 2. We have looked at the part 1 of this topic. So today we'll be looking at part 2 of the topic. My name is Shola Uluwadari. Now, let's look at the objective of this study. This study will attempt to look at the types of balance of payment deficit. It will discuss the causes of balance of payment deficit, examine different ways of financing balance of payment deficit, and outline different methods that balance of payment deficit can be corrected. Now, let's look at types of balance of payment deficit. We have what we call temporary balance of payment deficit. It's also called short-term deficit. Now, this is when B.O.P can be corrected or adjusted within a short time. But we have what we call chronic or fundamental balance of payment deficit. It's just the opposite of the temporary one. It's a long-term deficit. It cannot be adjusted within a short time. But because it cannot be adjusted within a short time, it usually has adverse effects on the country's reserves. So nobody wants to go to that area if they can work things out. Now, causes of balance of payment deficit. There are so many things that happen in the economy. So many things that make economy to be vulnerable through the balance of payment. Now we're going to look at them one by one. Number one thing is low level of agricultural production, especially in developing economies like ours, that majority of what we do is tied to agriculture. Then also, when there is low level of technological development, when there is poor social and economic infrastructure, no good roads, no good network, no good roads, political instability, frequent change of government, or when there is constant change of government policies, inadequacy in export promotion strategy, and then existence of import-dependent industries. When we say import-dependent industries, that is industries that depend on imported goods as their raw materials. Now, let's look at different ways through which the balance of payment deficit can be financed. Number one is through external reserves. Now, especially when it is a chronic B.O.P deficit, the government will have to go to its external reserves. Another way is by borrowing from international bodies like IMF, or getting short-term credit. Or the government may decide to sell its foreign investment or get grants from friendly countries. Or the government may decide to increase exports of goods and services. But before export of goods and services will be increased, there must be production. So the government will have to focus on productive activities in the economy for it to increase exports of goods and services. Now, let's look at different measures to correct balance of payment deficit, or at least to reduce it. Number one is foreign exchange control. government may decide to peg foreign exchange by VAT. Now, government may also decide to reduce its expenditure. When government decides to reduce its expenditure, especially the recurrent expenditure, it will help the balance of payment deficit. Now, there could be fiscal control. That is, government may decide to work on its income and expenditure. That's what we call fiscal control. Or through grants and aids, or increase in production, sell investment abroad, raise interest rates, or promote import substitution industries. Now, let's look at what we have discussed so far. We've said that there are two types of balance of payment deficit, the temporary one and the fundamental one, or chronic. Then we also look at the causes of balance of payment deficit, which include low level of agricultural production, low level of technological development, poor social and economic infrastructure. We look at the ways through which B.O.P can be financed through external reserves, long-term borrowing, or getting short-term credit. Then we look at measures to reduce or correct balance of payment deficit. Will be by foreign exchange control, reduction of expenditure, fiscal control, or grant and aid. Now, I want to give you this assignment and I want you to submit it so as to show your understanding of what we have discussed so far. What is balance of payment adjustment? Then, I want you to do a research so that you'll be able to explain the roles of money in international transactions.